Hello, this is a little family story of Kristy Yang. Nice to meet you all. My name is Yanxi Yang, and you may call me by my English name, Kristy. I was born and raised in Hong Kong by two Christian parents along with my younger brother. We form a family of four. And both of my parents are working parents who strive to bring us a better life. We also had our fifth hidden members of the family. Her name is Arlena. We called her 姐姐, meaning sister. And Tete had been taking care of us when both of my parents went to work, and she had been with our families for over 12 years. And in my family, I was seen as the rebellious child. Growing up, I have been a talkative child with loads of ideas and thoughts ready to share whenever possible. But since my mom coming from a traditional Chinese family, the communication within the family was not efficient, and the parents remain an authority figure. Therefore, with the traditional male dominant value of my mother's side, it shackles my opportunity to be the best version of myself. And oftentimes, whenever I've been vocal with my needs, emotions, and ideas, and had no shame sharing all of this. However, my mom would simply tell me to shut up, pointing it to my face, and saying that a woman should keep her mouth shut and suppress her individuality to look good in front of others, and to be obedient in order to look womanly. But the question is, how should a woman behave? Who sets these limits and barrier? And why should I follow these standards? Therefore, I have been having an inner conflict of being myself while acting as a quiet, obedient child in front of my mom, which had made me confused about my self image growing up. And since my mom and I had barely spoken to each other, we had never established any meaningful conversation up until this point in my life. And the feeling of rejections from my own mother, the lack of recognitions and communication had greatly impacted the building and development of my self esteem as well as my characteristic. And in my future educations, I found my redemption. I get to become a student before becoming student of ECE. I actually graduated from the RMIT University with a bachelor degree of fine arts. And I was an artist and have been working part-time children's art teacher for a year in my home country. In this education and the creative atmosphere environment received in art, I was able to express my thoughts and creativities and opinions to my peer with a harmony of understanding. And I finally, in my life, I felt being accepted for being who I am. And turns out I was doing nothing wrong of being me. And people do listen, they respond, and we respect each other as who we are. During this time of my life, I finally understand how important it is and empower it is to embrace yourself in an environment that are accepting and let you feel that you belong, that are filled with people who are willing to listen. And I finally felt that I was deserved and I belonged to somewhere. From my personal family stories and the experience I had while pursuing my education, I found that active listening and being supportive really impacts the development of oneself. From how does learning happen? The foundation of learning. There were three elements that were missing in my childhood growing up. They are belonging, the well being, and expressions. In these three elements is allow a child to express themselves, to be well, to have a sense of selves, and to embrace the world and contributes to the world. However, in my childhood, these three elements was unfortunately missing. And also in the Chinese culture, these elements were not being valued compared to the mighty academic results. Therefore, in becoming an educator, I will not trip over the same stone twice. I do not want any of the child to experience what I had experienced as a child. I want to make everyone to feel included. They are free to express themselves and that they can feel welcoming. And for an instance, during the summer job in this year, I worked in a childcare, and a preschooler had been seen as a difficult child by other teacher. There was one day he was throwing a tantrum, throwing toys, and kept arguing with the educators in the room. They both point fingers to each other, and the conversation was not effective. And afterwards, I simply went up to the child and asked if he was okay and if he needed a hug. The child went silent for a second and nodded his head. And afterwards, the child seems to be more happy, and that he started to collect the toys that he threw and resume his play. And that was the experience that led me as a witness about how powerful and empowering a warm gesture and sincere care and respectfulness could impact and support a child. Finally, from the gender stereotype typing I received from my mother had led me think of, in such a global citizenship world, that humans' right and humans' equalities should be educated and should be supported, because gender does not define who we are and what we are. It is about empowerment, the dignity, the freedom, and equality to express ourselves, to have equal rights in both gender, and do not be strengthened by this limitation. And thank you all for listening, and keep living your life inspired. Thank you.